Statement by Ministers.
Statement by Ministers. Honorable Prime Minister.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker. With your permission, I'm making a statement on the executive order entitled Regulating Imports with a Reciprocal Tariff to Rectify Trade Practices that Contribute to Large and Persistent Annual United States Goods Trade Deficits, signed by President Trump on the 2nd of April of this year. President Trump invoked his authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977 to address the national aid emergency posed by the absence of reciprocity in the U.S. trade relationships and other harmful policies like currency manipulation and unfair trade practices. The executive order imposes a baseline 10% tariff on all imported goods as from the 5th of April of this year. The United States will also impose an individualized reciprocal higher tariff proportionate to the level of its trade deficit with that country as from 9th of April 2025. The executive order further states that these tariffs will remain in effect until such time as the President determines that the threat posed by the trade deficit and underlying non-reciprocal treatment is satisfied, resolved, or mitigated. Some products that are exempted from this policy are steel and aluminum, copper, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, critical minerals, and energy products. Basically, all these goods are strategic for the United States, which explain their exclusion. It is our understanding, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that the calculation of the reciprocal tariff is based on the trade deficit incurred by the United States with Mauritius in 2024. In that year, Mauritius exported around $234.5 million of goods to the United States, while it imported only $48 million of goods. This results in a trade deficit of $186.5 million for the United States. The trade deficit as a percentage of Mauritius exports to the U.S. is estimated at 80%. Therefore, as per the U.S. calculation, the reciprocal tariff for Mauritius is 80%. However, this percentage was halved, and a discounted reciprocal tariff of 40% will be applied for our exports entering the United States market. The main products exported to the U.S. include live primates, fish, sugar, textiles, and apparel. As soon as President Trump assumed office on the 20th of January 2025, he signed the America First Trade Policy Presidential Memorandum, which aims at undertaking a number of studies and proposing recommendations to address the persistent trade deficits, among others. In February 2025, the Office of the United States Trade Representative had requested public comments on unfair trade practices and non-reciprocal trade arrangements affecting the U.S. economy by the deadline of 11th of March 2025. Accordingly, Mauritius made a submission highlighting that the top 20 U.S. exports to Mauritius do not attract any tariff at all. The mutual benefits of AGUA was also underscored. On the 3rd of April 2025, the WTO Director General stated that many members had contacted the WTO regarding the potential impact of the tariffs on their economies and global trade. She expressed concern over the decline in trade and the risk of a tariff war driven by retaliatory measures. Highlighting the potential for significant trade diversion, she urged members to handle the resulting pressures responsibly to prevent escalating tensions. The executive order means, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that our exports of goods to the United States will now be subject to a tariff of 40%. This will be clearly highly detrimental to our economy. The U.S. is the fourth largest buyer of Mauritian goods. Some 41 export-oriented enterprises employing some 16,750 persons depend on the U.S. market. Being an AGUA-eligible country, Mauritius has been benefiting from duty-free market access for some 6,400 product lines on the U.S. market. Other AGOA-eligible countries like Lesotho, Botswana, and Madagascar will also face a tariff of varying between 50%, 37%, and 47%, respectively. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs had a meeting which included high-level representatives from various ministries as well as public and private sector stakeholders, namely the MCCI, the Sugar Syndicate, Business Mauritius, and MIGSA, with a view to charting the way forward and mitigating the fallouts on our economy. I have chaired 2 meetings with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, and the officers of the Ministry of Finance with the Deputy with the Junior Minister. The following course of action was agreed. 1, to discuss possible avenues with the United States at the bilateral and regional levels. 2, work with like-minded groups of countries, including AGOA, eligible countries as well as the African Union Mission in Washington, D.C., with a view to devising a strategy to open up discussions with the United States. 3rd, to negotiate a bilateral trade agreement with the United States, which provide the necessary predictability to our trading relations. A high-level committee has been set up by government to monitor the situation and liaise with all public, private, and foreign stakeholders, including the Corporate Council for Africa, that can work together to mitigate the fallouts from the U.S. executive order and ensure continued trade between Mauritius and the United States. Government will also engage with the U.S. as the executive order provides that reciprocal tariff can be modified if the country takes, and I quote, significant steps to remedy non-reciprocal trade arrangements and ally sufficiently with the United States on economic and national security matters, unquote. I'm also writing to President Trump with a view to discuss the concerns of Mauritius.